Some cars are remembered for their beauty, but others for their unforgettable ugliness. In this video, we explore the top automotive blunders that stun the world with their questionable designs. 1970 AMC Gremlin, a stroke of corporate genius. The 1970 AMC Gremlin was an incredibly cheap vehicle, selling for two-thirds the cost of most small cars. It's no surprise, then, that its design reflected that cost, looking like only two-thirds of a car. Despite its odd and ugly appearance, the Gremlin was a sales success for AMC, a testament to the company's genius at creating something affordable and relevant for the time. Yet one can't help but wonder, did it have to be so visually unappealing? AMC considered an even uglier version, a shortened Hornet, but that never made it past the drawing board. 1970 Buick Riviera, from beauty to blob. The second-generation Buick Riviera, 1966 to 1969, was a stunning, sleek car with racy lines and hidden headlights. But when the 1970 model hit the showroom, it was a complete departure from the elegance of its predecessors. The new Riviera had a bloated appearance, with the front grille seemingly sliding off the car and rear fenders that looked like runaway mold. This design was a disaster, and the car was soon replaced by the controversial but much-loved boat-tail Riviera in 1971. 1970 Ford Thunderbird, the giant beak face of ugly. The 1970 Ford Thunderbird was a departure from the more elegant models of the late 60s. Ford decided to add a giant beak-like nose to the front of the Thunderbird, turning a non-offensive car into something that looks more like a bird than a muscle car. With such a peculiar front end, it's clear the Thunderbird lost its appeal in design. 1970 Porsche 914, the dorky mid-engine oddity. The 1970 Porsche 914 is often considered one of the most awkwardly styled Porsche cars. With its huge gap between the B-pillar and rear wheel, the squared-off bodywork and unadorned lines, it's a car that embraces its dorkiness. While not unattractive to all, it didn't quite live up to the visual elegance that most expect from a Porsche. It's a car that's more a reality than a dream. 1970 Saab Sonett 3, the oddly proportioned American car. The 1970 Saab Sonett 3 was designed with American buyers in mind, but the proportions of the car were all wrong. The overly elongated front contrasted sharply with a cut-off rear, making it look unbalanced. The design was made worse by the large 5-mile-per-hour bumper tacked onto the front, making it appear even more awkward. No wonder it didn't appeal to American buyers until the Saab 900 arrived. 1972 Subaru GL Coupe, a cut-and-paste disaster. Subaru, like other Japanese automakers, made strides in creating practical small cars, but their attempt at stylishness with the 1972 Subaru GL Coupe was a failure. It looked as though the car was too long for the shipping crate and had its tail hacked off. What remained was an awkward and impractical design that's difficult to take seriously as a stylish vehicle. 1973 Leyland P76, a British design nightmare. The 1973 Leyland P76 was a massive failure in design thanks to British Leyland's attempt to create a car that could be sold in Australia. With its wedge shape and horrific build quality, the P76 was a car that failed in both appearance and functionality. It was so poorly made that it only sold 18,000 units before disappearing from the market. 1973 Reliant Robin, the ugly three-wheeled wonder. The 1973 Reliant Robin is an iconic three-wheeled car that could have been stylish but instead became a visual disaster. Its desperate, awkward design made it look like a car that was never meant to exist, and its cheap look made it an object of ridicule. Despite its failure to gain affection, it remains one of the most memorable ugly cars. 1974 Bricklin SV1, a plastic disaster. The 1974 Bricklin SV1 was a safety-focused car that failed miserably on every level. With its plastic body panels, ugly design, and poor build quality, the car was a disaster to both own and look at. Despite the futuristic vision, the Bricklin turned out to be nothing more than an uncomfortable and unreliable joke of the 1970s. The 1974 Sebring Vanguard city car, the golf cart on steroids. The 1974 Sebring Vanguard city car was an attempt at an electric car, but its design made it look like a glorified golf cart. With a tiny 2.5 horsepower engine and a top speed of only 25 miles per hour, this car's performance was as embarrassing as its looks. The city car was a failure in both design and functionality, offering little to no benefits to its owners. 1974 Ford Mustang. 2. The luxury failure. The 1974 Ford Mustang II was an attempt to shrink the classic Mustang, but it became a laughable disaster, especially in its luxury-themed Ghia model. Adding a vinyl roof and opera windows to a car that didn't need them resulted in one of the most disastrous designs in Ford history. The Mustang II may have been a strong seller, but the Ghia model certainly did not help its image. The 1974 Vanden Plas 1500 was yet another badge-engineered disaster from British Leyland. The car, based on the Austin Allegro, featured chrome accents, leather seats, and fancy carpet. But none of these features could hide the fact that the car was a piece of junk. The Vanden Plas 1500 was a poor attempt at luxury and ended up being the subject of ridicule in the automotive world. 1975 AMC Pacer, the fishbowl on wheels. The 1975 AMC Pacer was designed as a wide, small car with a huge glass area to provide better visibility. However, it ended up looking like a goldfish bowl, a design flaw that made it one of the ugliest cars of its time. Even with its V8 engine option, the Pacer remained a poorly conceived and poorly executed car, cementing its place in automotive history as an awkward oddity. 1977 Datsun 200SX, a rusting sports coupe. The 1977 Datsun 200SX had potential as a sports coupe, but it was too slow to be sporty and too thirsty to be economical. The car's rust-prone body ensured it didn't last long enough to become a true classic. Its strange grille made it an unattractive option for consumers, and its short lifespan ensured that only a few of these cars remain on the road today. 1977 Chevrolet Chevette Caballero, a bizarre Frankenstein creation. The 1977 Chevrolet Chevette Caballero was an abomination created by a man named Donald E. Steinbach, who slapped a bunch of fiberglass and Bondo on his Chevette to make it look like a Monte Carlo. This Frankenstein creation was not only ugly, but also a poor attempt to create a stylish vehicle. It remains a curiosity in the automotive world today. 1977 Volvo 262C, the Swedish Lincoln Continental fail. The 1977 Volvo 262C was inspired by the Lincoln Continental, but resulted in a design disaster. By chopping 2.6 inches from the roofline, the car became unusable for taller people and turned into a visual disaster. Despite its design flaws, 6,600 units were built, a testament to bad taste and poor decisions in automotive design. 1978 Oldsmobile Cutlass Aerobac, a European-inspired mistake. The 1978 Oldsmobile Cutlass Aerobac was an attempt to create a European-inspired hatchback, but the result was unattractive and impractical. Consumers quickly rejected the design, and sales tanked. Despite this, GM didn't pull the car from production until 1981, making it one of the more memorable mistakes in automotive history. If you enjoyed this trip through automotive history, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more surprising car stories.